In this video, we're about to take a look at our first C++ program. Stand by. This video is about to start.
This is the Savage Scientist Ed right here. And I'm the owner of the police car.
What up, folks? This is the Savage Scientist Ed, the governor of the state of Swampland. And you ready to get back into our Hello World example, C++ programming? Alright, but first, let's have a good word from our quiz. You thought it was a sponsorship, huh? Here we go. Question number 1. What is a compiler? Pause the video, answer the question, and now. So, a compiler is a piece of software that takes your source code and link it together with libraries and all type of other stuff, and is going to create an executable file, assuming that everything checks out and that you're following the rules of the language. So, that executable file will then be specific for the computer that you're writing this code on. So you can't take this executable and run it on a Macintosh because it haven't been compiled for Macintosh. So that kind of goes into question number 2. Is C++ compiled or interpreted? This should be an easy question for you to answer. So just pause the video and answer this question. So if you don't know the answer, then it is a compiled language. C++ is compiled. And the last question, what does IDE stands for? But even I forget this one. So IDE, you ready for the answer? Need some hold music? All right, here goes some hold music for you. I can't afford hold music, so I'm gonna have to make my own hold music right now. All right, so IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. See, I'm about to screw it up now. I'm about to say Individual Debugging Environment, but no, it stands for Integrated Development Environment. So let's see where we at in our course. So on day 1, we were introduced to programming and setting up Dev C++ and VS Code, depending on which compiler you want to use. And then we basically wrote our first Hello World program without any explanation. So on day 2, I gave you an abstract view of what a C++ program would look like. A generic abstract view. That's all it was. So we then talked a little bit more about a few of the statements in that Hello World example. So today, we're about to go a little further. We're going to start talking about C++ keywords. We're going to talk about the syntax of the language. And it's time for you to start getting familiar with your compiler if you're not already familiar with it. So that's our agenda for today. Alright, so let's talk about understanding your C++ compiler. That's very important, and what I'm talking about is, in order to go through this video and understand your journey to becoming a C++ developer, a master savage developer, then you got to be able to know, you have to know your way around your C++ compiler. So we're going to be using Dev C++ and Visual Studio Code throughout this series. So now let's take a look at some keywords. Here are a very comprehensive list of probably 90 C++ keywords, probably 85, 80 something C++ keywords, and this list is current as of 2011 C++ standard. So there's a 2017 standard, and I think they're working on a 2020 something standard. So we're going to cover a lot of these keywords, but some of them won't, like ASM for assembly. We won't be covering this one. And there's some other ones, like probably won't talk about mutable too much, and probably not volatile. But we're going to see what we're going to talk about here. So let's see. So and also I want you to notice that we are on part 2, keywords in C++ syntax. That's this section we own. So now let's start our C++ compiler, because we're going to get into syntax and all that stuff. Just hold on a little while. First we have to get our Dev C++ on the screen, and here's mine. And we're going to open that Hello World example that we created in the last video. So you go to File, and if you click right down here under the print setup, it's going to be a list of your previously opened projects. Like in this example, I only opened one project, so this is that project. And you could also select open and then select that same project right here. So I'm just gonna do it like that. So if you notice, the text is a little bigger from last time, and this is highlighted blue now. And I'm gonna show you how I did that. So what I did was I went to Tools, Editor Options, and under Fonts, this is how you change the size of the text. So let's go and make it 8, size 8 text. So if I roll the rest of this series like this, you probably won't finish the rest. You probably won't even get through this video. You're going to be like, this is a fool. Look how small that text is. And you're going to unsubscribe and do all that other stuff. So let me change it back. And subscribe to my channel so you don't miss no more of this series and some more good stuff. So let's return that text back to the size we need. Go to Fonts and then change it to 17. 17 worked for me. 20, 21 might work for you. Whatever, 19 or 12 might work. I think 12 is a good size, but since I'm doing this video and this is gonna appear on YouTube and you might watch this on the cell phone, I gotta get a decent size so you could see what's going on here. So another thing I want to do is see how I have this stuff highlighted. This is actually about to transition back into the keywords. Let's take a look at those keywords again. So here's a list of keywords. Can you tell me some of the keywords? Identify those keywords. Do you see any? Give it a little time. Put some holding music on if you need some more holding music. Here we go. 1, 2, 3 keywords. That's int, character. CHAR. That's character. And we have another keyword, return. So we have, look like 4 keywords being used. And let's go to colors and change the colors of these keywords so you could do more things. I mean, you might want those keywords to be a different color. So we're going to go to Editor Options and Colors. And now just select the keywords. You see how I have this here and they say reserve word. So that's another thing. Keyword, reserve word. Whatever some people call it keyword, some people call it reserve word. Whatever it is, it's all the same. These are words that you can't use to identify variables. These words are like commands to the compiler that's used to create your executable. So you can't name something int or float, but you can say int underscore I or something like that. But you just can't leave the word int alone. It's gonna turn colors, and if you just saying, hey, let's say I'm gonna just name this thing int. Now you probably could name it with a capital I, but you just can't name it with a lowercase I. And that also goes into the C++ rule of case sensitivity. Capital NAME is not the same thing as capital N, capital A, capital M, capital E. So you can't do that. They got a lot of things you can't do. So let's go back to this. So that's our keyword int or reserve word, like they have it right here. And we could change the color. We could make this color lime green. And nice lime green. I don't like how that looks, so I like how the blue looks. So you could go in and change those colors the way you want to. I'm gonna just leave it blue, and I'm gonna make it so my string literals are fuchsia colored. Let's see if I can find a string literal in here. They had one earlier. I messed with this thing earlier. There's our string literal. So that's already fuchsia colored. So let's go back and change this back blue. That's it. So now we have that going. And we're going to talk about comments next. This is a block style comment. So everything in between the 2 asterisks, asterisk here, the compiler will ignore that and treat it like a comment. A comment is just like leaving a message for the developer who is going to use this code. Anybody who see this code is going to look at this and notice this is comment. It's almost like writing notes to yourself or writing notes to people who come back and read your comment. So this is a block style comment, and this is a linear comment or a single line comment, or this is gonna start, the comment actually start right here at this special symbol, and it ends at the end of the line. So I could start commenting here, just typing stuff here, and the compiler will not process this. So I could even declare variables in here, equals 988, and the compiler will not even see this. So I could actually show you a little more of this. Watch this. I just commented out this whole line. So this is one big comment with another comment in it. Now how is that? So I could actually force this on another line, and that is just a comment on its own line. So all this will be ignored by the compiler whenever we compile this. So let's take a look at it. So to compile your code, you're going to save it first, because whenever you compile code, it's going to look at the last time you saved. So all the stuff that we just did, if it's not saved, it won't be computed in the compilation. So do save, hit save, and now we're going to go to execute F9, that's for compile. And right now we have 0 errors. And when you compile, this window is your compilation results. Right here on the bottom, you see where it says errors 0 and all this stuff. This is the results of the compilation, and this is our code, and let's run it. So to run your code, you're going to go up to execute again, and then you're going to select F10 for run. And if you do it like this, you're going to get this pop-up box, and you see nothing is printed. No hello world, nothing. And just hit enter key to continue. So that's it. So let's uncomment this line. And we could also uncomment this. Well, this is already a comment. So now let's put this back on the line how it was. So this is how it was. So now we have to save this again. Go up to File, Save, and now execute, compile, and we have 0 errors, 0 warnings. And now go back to execute, to the execute command, and now F10 for run. And now let's take a look at what we have. There it is, hello world. And I'm about to show you how I like to run my code. So if you come down to the bottom where there's a tab that says console, select that tab, and then you're going to select this CMD. Now we have our own console running right here within Dev C++. That's a trick for us developers. So let's take a look. You can run your commands like dir to list your directory. And if we want to run our program again, this is what you're going to do. Just type the name of the program. And our program is the executable. All this other stuff is not important. Those are files that's made during the compilation. So just type in project 1 or the name of the executable, project. And there it is. So do not type the exe behind it. Let's see what's going to happen. That's what happens whenever you type project.exe. It's not going to work because it's automatically going to look at executables and run it. So you don't have to type the exe behind it. So to clear the screen, type CLS. And now we're back at our path showing you where our files are located. Like I said, it's on the desktop programming folder, projects folder, and project 1. That's where we located. And that's a simple way to get straight to our work here. So now it's time to talk about more C++ syntax, right? So code is stored in logical blocks processed from right to left and top to bottom. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So when you start here on this include statement, it's going to first start right here at the leftmost position, and then it's going to go across, scan across here from left to right, just like we read from left to right, and then it's going to start going down. It's going to go to this space. This is what we call white space with nothing in it. And then it's going to skip this comment. It's going to go to white space again, skip this comment, white space, and then it's going to start compiling our main function. So that's this part. So once it gets to the end, it's going to compile. Hopefully you don't have any errors. So let's talk about errors. So what an error would look like if I was to say something like this. let's just uncomment this line. And now let's do a save. Do Control S for save. And so go up to compile, F9 on the execute menu, and there it is. We have errors. We're Houston, we have a problem. So it doesn't recognize what all this junk mean, because it's scanned right here. This is out of scope, and it didn't even get a chance to even declare this value, because this error prevented any of this stuff from happening. So the compiler just stopped right here, and it didn't return anything. So it won't get to this line because this error just prevented it from executing anymore. Or this prevented it from compiling anymore. One error would stop the compiler. So the easiest way to get rid of this, to stop this error, is to just get rid of the problem. So I'm about to just either comment this out or just delete that line. And now let's go in, do Control S again, save, and now go back up to execute, compile with the F9 key. Now we have any problems, and now we could run it right here in the console. So just push up until you get to it. So remember what happened when we typed Project EXE? That's not going to work. Project 1. Here it is. We got Hello World again. And that's it. And whenever you compile your code, let's hit F9 again to compile. It automatically switches back to the compile window. And now we could just go back to console and just run our code again. So now, let's go back and take a look at some more C++ syntax. We're at the semicolon part now. Every statement ends with a semicolon. And this is a semicolon after this statement. So a statement is a line that's processed by the compiler. So we have two statements. This is a statement. This is a statement. And this main function could be looked at as a statement. And we could actually put a semicolon at the end right here. To, just to keep it consistent with our semicolon. So if you notice, I haven't said anything about this include IOStream yet. So that could be considered a statement, but it's not a processing statement like this. This is a preprocessor directive. This is just saying to the compiler that we're going to use IOStream. We're going to use some components of the IOStream library or a class of functions within that library or part of it. So right here we're using the scope resolution operator that's telling us that we're going to use the standard template library, and we're going to use the cout function within IOStream std. So we're going to talk more about that later in the video, but this is just telling us that we are printing out to the screen. This line is just saying print hello world to the screen. See that? So that's IOStream. So another thing we could do is we could get rid of this std part by putting in this line using namespace std colon. So what this is saying, and we have two more, we just introduced two new keywords too, using and namespace. We're gonna talk about those later. So this is not really important at this moment to learning how this hello world example works. But if you just type this in, just put this in your code, and that makes it so you don't have to type in std : to make cout work. That's all that's doing. So this is the main function. This is the function that the operating system is going to look for to execute your code. So this is the beginning or the entry point into your program. So once the program finds main, that means it's going to allocate space in the operating system, memory and all that good stuff for this thing to run. So it's going to create memory for hello world, any other variables we're going to create. But that's a little advanced for right now. So basically main is necessary to get your program in Windows or Linux, Unix, whatever you use in Mac OS. We're going to have a main function that just tell the operating system that this is where you're starting from. This is the starting point. So this is an int function. This is just telling us that our function is going to return a value of int. I mean, this 0 is an integer value, so that's why it's saying return. I mean, this function is going to start with a return value, and at the end it's going to return a return value. So that's it for our C++ main function. So we print the word hello world, and I'm going to have a video on getting user input where we're going to talk more about cout and this include IOStream part. So if you were using Visual Studio Code, this will look a little different, like I said. Yeah. So one thing I like about using Visual Studio Code is that we have this thing called Code Complete. So when I type in std scope resolution operator, see how you get this list of different functions associated with that? That's called Code Complete. There are many different names for it, like IntelliSense and IntelliType. There's all type of names for it, but basically this is what it's talking about. This is kind of like completing the text. So if I was to type in ABS, there it is. Now it's a function called absolute value. And another thing, when I typed in ABS, see how it's telling you all the different versions of absolute value? We're going to talk more about this because this has to do with functions. So that's Code Complete. We're going to switch and start using Visual Studio Code eventually, but this is an easy to use compiler. So long as you have this on your computer for right now, we good to go. So that's Code Complete. So now we done explained or got a better idea of how to use our compiler, how to use our command line, and this is it. So this is comments. We have two types of comments that we could use in C++, block style and line comments, linear comments. So another thing here, in our main function, we have all this. This stands for argument count, argument vector. At this point, we're not using this, so you could just get rid of it. So, and what that is saying is, whenever we run our program, you could run it with stuff like this. And what this is doing is, you see this LKL, LJ, what all this crap is right here? This is the contents of ARGV, ARGC. ARGC is just how many we have. We're gonna talk about that more later, but this is just parameters that we're gonna use to run our program. That's not necessary right now, so you don't need it. Let's run our program without it. So let's see here. So first we're gonna save, and now we're gonna go up to execute and compile. Our program just compiled just like this. So we just took all that crap out of our main function. And now let's go to console and just run our program. And you run your program by typing the name of the program. And if you don't remember the name of your program, just type dir, and there it is, project 1. And there it is, hello world. Hello world just ran, and here is our main function. And that's it. So I have a challenge for you. Modify your hello world statement to display something unique. It could be a statement or a phrase. So what I'm saying here is that to just change up your code. Be unique. Be very unique. And let me know if you have any problems with this. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, so we just got done knocking out our topic of C++ keyword syntax in the compiler. So now, day 4, getting user input. We about to work with streams and all type of other things, and we're gonna print words to the screen. So stay tuned for that. Video number 4, day 4. We're making our way through this thing. So this is the Savage Scientist Ed, Governor of the State of Swampland. So till I make my next video, which y'all should be watching next. Peace out.